This is a construction time-lapse video paired with interactive insights. And guess what? It's all cooked up inside Power BI. This project has been my passion for some time now. I've poured my heart and my soul to make it happen. Many hours of coding, endless tweaking of components, and finally, it's here, a reality. And I can't wait to share it with you guys. They say, a picture worth 1,000 words. How about a sequence of images supported by insightful visuals? What is in store for you? Well, in this journey, I've harnessed the power of data and images into Power BI to create you one single insightful report. But that's not all. It is fully automated, interactive, and scalable. So now, grab a cup of coffee, sit back and watch. Okay guys, let's start by examining the data we have. We have construction data stored in a CSV file. It contains dates for each of the records and which shows here the days since start. So we have here the forecast actual finish date because it changes over time based on the activities, and if there is a delay between the forecast and the planned finish, it will be captured in this column. Here's the percentage time of the project age, and we have the planned, so this is comparing to the forecast date, this is compared to the planned finish date, and we have the planned progress according to the program, and we have the actual progress, and we also have the manpower, both planned and actual for each of the dates. So this is the construction data we have. So we have 86 records. Next we have the images. Each of the images corresponds to one of the dates. So those images showing the construction progress taken over time. So we have the date is embedded in the file name. If we look at those photos, you can see it showing construction progress over time. And those images, we'll have them imported into Power BI using Python as base64. And we have covered this in the previous video. If you haven't watched that, please go watch it after you finish here. So now, after familiarizing ourselves with the data, let's go to Power BI. In Power BI, we'll start by importing the images and convert them to base64 using the Python script. So let's go to get data, more, folder, and we need to paste the folder path here. So this is the folder containing the images. Let's click OK. Now we go to transform data. So we have all the columns for the files, the images files. So we will select the columns we're going to keep, which are the name and the folder path. Have them selected, then right click, remove other columns. So those are only the columns we need. Next we'll create a column to combine both of them. Let's add a column. From add column, custom column, let's name it images path, and we simply start by adding the folder path and we select the name. Click OK. So we have now each image path in a separate column. Let's now remove the extra two columns, we don't need them anymore. Now we're ready to run the Python script, but first let's have a look on the Python script. I have it ready in Google Colab here. So this is the same script we used in the previous video where we covered how to import images in Power BI. You'll find a link in the description. I will not go through it again, except I will highlight one of the important changes we made to this script is resizing the image before we import it, because the images we have for the construction progress, they're big in size and we want to reduce the size to keep the file size under control. So here we added one function. It will resize the image as a percentage. You provide a percentage how much you want it to be from the original size, and you embed it in the code. So here when we run the code, we iterate through the images. We will resize the image first. For example, here we keep it 20. For our case, we'll keep it at 40, and we will run the script. So now let's go back to Power BI. So now inside Power BI, we go to transform, run Python script. I have the code ready. The code we just saw, I'll just paste it. I have made one small change here. The image paths will read from the column we created in the previous step, the images path. So you feed it here, and that's it. You just click OK. So now we have the code run successfully. We just click on table for the data frame, expand this, and this is after we expanded the file. We have the file name for the images, and we have the columns containing the base 64 code. We have 17 columns. Now we reduced the number of columns because we resized the image to 40%. I'll show you in a minute what happens if we keep the size as is. But for now, just hold this thought. Let's continue with the transformation. The only thing we need to do here, we need to extract the date key from this to use it as a link to the construction data. So to do this, in the file name, right click and split column by delimiter, and we select space, click OK. You can see here it is separated into two columns, and this column automatically is converted to number. This contains the date segment from the file name. So let's delete this column and rename this to date key. So now we have the images ready. Next, let's bring the construction data, and again from home, new source, we select CSV file, and we just locate the file. Let's click on it. So this is the table. Just click OK, and we have the construction data ready now. Now we're done with the transformation here. Let's close and apply. So now we have the two tables loaded, the construction data and the images. We just want to add one more table, a date table, and we'll do it here from modeling, new table. We'll use DAX to create a date table, and this is a typical date table. I just added one column called date key, and this has the same format we have in the images. We'll use it to establish a relationship with the images table. Let's commit. So this is the date table loaded. Let's go to the date key column and also convert it from text to whole number to make it the same data type of the date key in the images table. We have it as a number format. Let's go to model view to establish the relationships between the date key here from the date table with the images, and we have to create it. Also, we'll create another link between the construction data and the date. So we have a date column here, we link it to the date column in the date table, and this will go bi-directional. So that's it. We have the data ready now, and we're ready to start developing the dashboard. But before we do that, as I promised earlier, I wanted to show you the effect of resizing the image. Now after resizing the image, we got 17 columns. Let me show you the effect on the size if we keep the image size as is. So here I have two files. One file has the image resized to 40%, like what we just have done, and this without resizing. So we have 100% of the original size. You can see the effect on the size. You can see that it's more than doubled. So this is almost 40% of the full size, and you can imagine if you have more images how the size will grow. And now let's go back to our exercise and develop the visuals for the dashboard. The first thing we need to do to start building the dashboard is creating a column to combine those 17 columns into one column to be able to feed it to an image viewer. To do this, we'll just create a column, a new column, and I have it ready. I'll just paste. So this is the image combining all the columns, and we have this in the front. And just a reminder, as we said in the previous video, we only can combine those columns here, because if you do it in the Power Query you will lose contents because you have limitation for the number of characters per cell. But here, if you do it through a calculated column, you will get away with this. So let's commit. Next, we want to import a visual to be able to visualize the images. And for that, we go to the three dots here, get more visuals, and we search for image. You can see here the simple image viewer. I'll just add it, click add. In the same way, I want to import another couple of visuals, one for the animated data slicer. I'll look for animate, so we'll import this. Another visual we want to use is an animated gauge. Let's type gauge here, and we want to import this one, this visual. So that's it. We have the three visuals we're going to use today imported. This is the image, this is the slicer, and this is the gauge. Let's start by adding the image visual. Let's resize it, and we feed to it the image. Now from format we go to effect, turn off the background, add borders and shadow in the center. Next we'll add one card, and we'll feed to it from the date table the date column. Let's just reformat this date column. We click on the date column and we select the proper format. For example, we'll use this format. Let's change the size, make it for example 20, and we remove the category, and we'll also change the background, make it more transparent, for example 30. That's good. Let's resize it and move it on top here. Now let's copy this card and move it here and feed to it from the construction data the days since start. Let's just resize it, and instead of sum we're going to use maximum. Now we'll use the date slicer, the visual we imported, and from construction data we feed to it the date. Let's format it again. Let's remove the caption, and from effect the background also make it 30%, and turn off the title. Then we reduce the size and we move it to the corner. Let's also change the color of the controls here. From colors, make it for example gray. Yeah, this looks better. So now if we click play, you can see the images are changing as expected. So this is our first visual is ready. Now for the next visual we're going to use another card. Let's resize it here. And for this card we want to show the deviation between actual progress and planned progress and the delay in days, and we'll put this in one single column. We're going to create a calculated column here, a new column. So this column will calculate the difference between the actual progress and the planned progress, and also it will show the delay in days based on the forecast delay column. Let's commit, and now we have the column ready. Let's feed it to the card. Let's change the font size 25 and turn off the category, make the color maybe white, and from general for background we're going to use conditional formatting based on the forecast delay days. So if it's greater than 0, it will be red. If it's equal or less than 0, it will be green. So let's apply these rules. So these are the rules applied. So let's click OK. We can see now it's showing green because we don't have any delay in days. But if we go to advanced dates, we can see it's turning red now. Let's also add borders with rounded corners and shadows. Resize it a little bit, and we have this visual ready. For the next visual, we're going to use line chart. So let's just resize it a little bit, and we'll feed to it from the construction data the date in the x-axis, and in the y-axis we're going to use the planned progress and the actual progress. Now because this visual is filtering it, let's disable the interaction between them. Click on the slicer, from format, edit interaction, and turn it off. So now we have all the dates are showing. Let's format this. From x-axis, let's turn off the title. For the y-axis, let's turn off the title and actually turn off y-axis altogether. And for line colors, let's change the actual to blue and the planned to gray. And from general, let's turn off the title. And from effect, we turn off the background and we do the usual formatting. And also let's change the name by removing the sum of. Just keep it planned progress and actual progress. There's one more thing I want to do here. I want to add a constant line to show the 100% completion. And to do this, we're going to use the analysis tab here, and in the x-axis, let's add a line. This will show a constant line based on the date. We're going to use conditional formatting. For the actual date, we're going to use from the construction data the date, the maximum date, which is basically the latest date in our table. Let's click OK. You can see here it's showing where the progress is 100%. For the next column, we want to use where the planned is 100%, which is almost here. And to do this, we want to create a measure. But before we do that, let's change the planned progress and actual progress to percentage. So just select them from here, from type, format, select percentage, and do the same for the planned. We can see now it's showing as percentage, and we can see the 100% is almost here, and to find this value we'll create a measure. So let's right click on the construction data table, new measure. I have it ready, I'll just paste. So this will calculate the minimum date where the construction planned progress equals to 1 or 100%. Let's commit and click here, add line, and again conditional formatting, and we select the measure we just created. Hit OK. So we have it showing here. Let's change the color to gray. So now we have the 100%. So basically this is where the planned finish of the project, and this is where the actual finish. There's one last formatting we need to do. From y-axis, let's turn it on again and make the minimum always 0 and the maximum 1. And we need to keep this fixed, but now we can turn off the y-axis. Now there's one trick we want to do. We want to be able to highlight the date based on the selected date from the slicer here. And to do this, we'll do one amazing trick. We're going just first to duplicate this visual. And as you can see, the duplicated visual is filtered because the interaction is active. So you can see here, the slicer is filtering this visual, and we want to keep it this way. So let's turn off the interaction now and keep it this way. And let's go to the analysis tab here and remove the second line. Just keep one constant line. We give it the color black, for example, and we make it solid. And we also, from visual, we add marker and we add data label. We can format this data label. For the planned progress, we can put the position always above, and for the value we make the color white, and we add a background with the same color of the line, gray. And we repeat the same for the actual progress. However, we make the color blue. And we change maybe the transparency to 30. We do the same for the plant. So now to make this work properly, there is one last thing we need to do. From visual, in the x-axis, we need to provide the minimum and maximum value. And for the minimum value, it's the start date of the construction. We take it just from the table. We don't need to make it variable. And the maximum date, we also take it from the construction completion. Now we can see we have the same exact x-axis for both visuals. All we need to do now is to move it on top of this visual. And we are done. So let's test it now. It works brilliantly as expected. So now we can group those two visuals. Let's go to view, selection, and select those two visuals. Right click and group. Let's name the one in the front current. So let's send it to the back. Now let's test the dashboard. Everything looks good. Let's pause. So now this dashboard is still interactive. So if you select the date from here, you can see it will respond also, and it will move the line and update the images and all the other visuals. Now we're ready for the gauge visual. And this visual, we're going to use it to show the difference in actual and planned manpower on site. So let's just click on it and resize it. And the actual value we're going to feed the actual manpower, and in the target we're going to use the manpower planned. Let's also rename them here. And we want to show a maximum value, so now it's going to 240, but we want the maximum value to stop at the maximum number of manpower on site at any time. And to do this, we're going to create a measure. So just right click on construction data, new measure. I have it ready, paste. So this will show the maximum manpower, the actual, for all dates, so it ignores the date filter. Let's apply, and we feed it on the maximum. Let's just resize it a little bit to show all the values. You can see now it's showing. Now let's do some formatting. From format your visual or general. If it's less than the target, we want to show it as red. If it's equal or greater, we're going to show the colors green. Now we go to target range. Let's turn this on. And we can change the color. For example, let's have it black. And finally, here for animation, let's turn it on. And this will give you a nice animated way of changing values. So it will work well with the animated slicer. And from general, we're going just to use a title, manpower on site. And for the background color, we'll also use conditional formatting. So if the actual manpower on site is equal or greater than the planned, we'll give it the color green, otherwise we'll give it red. And to do this, we have to create a calculated column to measure the difference between the actual and the planned manpower on site. So let's right click, new column. I'll just paste and commit. And now I'll set the conditional formatting based on this column. Use rule. So now we just click OK. And we change the text color to white and put it in the middle. And finally we do the general formatting of background and borders. And the final visual I want to add is another line gauge. We can just copy this one. And for this, we're not going to use any title. And also we'll turn off the legends. And we'll feed to it the time lapse and the actual value. And the planned time lapse in the target. And for the maximum, we want it always to be 1. So to do this, we're just going to create a measure and put it equal to 1. Let's name it max equal 1. So basically 1 corresponds to 100%. We're going to change all the colors here to blue or any color you like. Let's also turn off the range, the target range. Let's also turn off the scale. So this basically will show the progress in terms of time. Let's also turn off from general, we turn off the borders and the shadows. There's one last thing we need to do in the animation, just to make the animation of the gauges synchronize with the animation of this slicer. We need to make sure it's always less than the speed of the slicer. So for the slicer here, the animation we have 1000 milliseconds. We need to make this less. So in the animation tab here, from visual animation, let's make it 0.5 second. And make this also 0.5 second. This way it will always update properly with the slicer. So now our dashboard is ready. Let's test it now. And we can see everything is working as expected. And this is the end of this tutorial. The nice thing about this report is you can update it as you go. For example, if you have a couple of new images, you can place them in the images folder and add data points in the CSV file and hit refresh from inside the Power BI, and you will get the new data added. I hope you found the content of this video valuable. Just remember, you can download all the materials covered in this video from a link in the description. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget the like button. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Now, I will leave you with a demo of the dashboard we just crafted in this video to see it in action. Peace.